Upon the release of Chapter 231 of Chainsaw Man, and the announcement that Chainsaw Man Part 2 will be ending on the 24th of March, there has been a lot of speculation about how it will end and will it live up to expectations. I am going to present a few possible theories on how it will end, and I will give you all the evidence I believe to lead me to these conclusions. There will be a few possible endings that I will bring up, and there are obviously some I believe more than others, but I am simply just going to say them and you can make up your own opinion. It could really go anyway, knowing Fujimoto. He tends to be quite the sporadic writer, as you can tell, as the chapter before this, before 231, was seemingly a pretty normal chapter. Next thing we know, now we're having a dream sequence. All I'm going to say is very obvious spoilers ahead. I will be getting into some stuff from Part 2 and obviously the most recent chapter, so I'm just going to give you a fair warning, but why would you click on this video otherwise? Anyway, into the first theory. If we pay very close attention to the devil that attacked Denji, we will notice that it has a crescent-shaped head and could very likely be the Nightmare Devil, right? Some people would still argue that this is a weird place to end Part 2 at a fake out, and I think there could be one possible reason for this. I think this could be a move to have a time skip. Denji will be put into a coma or some nightmare sequence until he wakes up from it or has to get his way out, but by then the prophecy of Nostradamus will be after carrying through. That's just a possible way you can go, but the main point is that this could be the Nightmare Devil. I mean, this devil has not been mentioned before in any way, and we don't know this devil. We can probably tell it's a primal one just based on its introduction, but no names have been given. And based on appearance alone, this is a very likely assumption of what it could be. It is also never stated that Pochita has the power to turn back time, so what should happen when he eats himself and erases the concept of chainsaws is it shouldn't flash back to before Denji became Chainsaw Man. That's not part of his ability, which could tie into more of how it's a dream sequence, how this is illogical even by Chainsaw Man's soft power system logic. What should happen instead is time should continue on forward without Chainsaw Man ever have existing and his concept being erased, like happened to all other devils eaten by Pochita. This theory would also explain the suddenness of Pochita's decision. For no reason he just decides to eat himself. Why is this the juncture where he decides enough is enough? Why would he do this to Denji after wanting to see his dreams? Does he end up hating Denji? Is that the message they're trying to put through? Obviously these are all kind of rhetorical questions and I don't have an answer to these, but I think it's important to question the motives of Pochita as it could lead into what the ending could be, as we will see on the 24th. For the second theory, we are assuming that all of the stuff that happened is true. We are believing that Pochita is the Devil, not the Chainsaw Devil, but the Devil, the fear of devils themselves. It would explain how he is so feared even by devils and is the most powerful of them all, as it seems. Assuming this to be true, this would create a world without devils, which means Denji would have to live a normal life, and he would never have the ability to become Chainsaw Man. And at the end of chapter 231, we're not seeing them going back in time, but this could very well just be a flashback to how Denji's life panned out without Pochita. But also knowing Fujimoto, this could not be the case. Maybe they do go back in time to before Denji made the contract with Pochita, and that's where time continues on. Maybe it's a case that eating Pochita is so fucked up that it has to reset the timeline. So much has happened because of that, it has to reset. Knowing Fujimoto, his logic could tend to pan out that way. And what we could see is Denji's life without Pochita. And it may even go down the road of bringing back Part 1 characters where they all live their normal lives since all of them die because of devils. You know, maybe it could be a little fan service in the way we get to see all these dead characters. I could see Fujimoto maybe doing that. You know, a lot of people call Fujimoto a very evil man, but he's allowed to give us a happy ending, maybe. Well, it wouldn't be a happy ending, more of a bittersweet ending. This next theory is not as satisfying though. The next theory states that there will be a timeline reset, but in an infinite loop. If we notice where Pochita bites himself at the end of 231, they are very similar to the wounds that Pochita has at the beginning of chapter 1. This could make it so that Denji has to constantly relive this life. We don't know if he'll have all his memories or not, but it could be almost a Sisyphus level struggle where he's constantly pushing that rock up the hill. He's constantly going through the motions. And if he can actually change stuff or not, it's really depending on how Fujimoto writes the next chapter. But I could see it going either way. It could be an endless cycle. Now, what this exactly means thematically, I couldn't tell you. Fujimoto, it could be an allegory for his constant struggle of writing, or how Denji constantly struggles but never gets anywhere. Knowing Fujimoto, he could make a completely different theme. But what I want to also bring attention to is, why would this happen, right? So there's obviously the idea that Fujimoto is doing the rule of cool. There's not much hard power system logic behind it, as he is known for writing very soft power systems. So it really could just be a case that this happens because Fujimoto says it happens. And that doesn't inherently make it a bad power system. This is how Fujimoto has written in the past, so maybe they just turn back time for no apparent reason. But I want to bring you onto another concept. And this could be its own theory of its own, and I'm not even completely sure on what it could mean itself. But I have a theory of what Pochita might be. He might be the Dream Devil. There's the constant reoccurring motive of the door in part 1. And in Hell, they are full of doors. Denji's door may just be one amongst many others, right? But I think it's very important to notice how Pochita is a reoccurring character in all of Denji's dreams, as well as he is the hero of Hell. Since Pochita constantly reappears in both Denji's dreams and Hell, along with the motif of the door, it is very likely to assume that there is some connection between dreams and Pochita. You can also see the constant mention of dreams in the dialogues between Pochita and Denji. There are multiple times where Pochita will say something along the lines of, "Show me your dreams, what will you dream next?" This has happened in part 1 and part 2, and it could be ultimately a piece of foreshadowing to highlight the true nature of Pochita. He could be the Dream Devil. Now, this whole Dream Devil theory could tie into the possibility of this constant reoccurring universe where Denji has to struggle. But here is a completely different idea. Devils would still exist in this scenario, but Denji would not be able to become Chainsaw Man. So this would lead Denji to being a broke and crippled guy in his shack. Now, this very well could just be the end of Denji. Some people believe in chapter 1, this panel here, hints towards what Denji's future could hold. He could be the one dead. Many in the past have assumed this to be his father, but with the way the story is going, this is not a ridiculous outcome for Denji. We know Fujimoto loves to toy with his audience. This interview where he speaks about the Big Lebowski makes it very clear. He wants to make us feel like, what did we just watch? That was pretty meaningless, and if the ending does go this way, it would be very fitting. It's also very important to discuss where Asa's character fits into all of this. She could very well just never be mentioned again, but I think she could come back to a certain degree. Assuming this whole Dream Devil theory is true, and that it resets to a world without Pochita but not devils, there's a high likelihood that Asa will still remember Denji as if it were a dream, or the War Devil will still vaguely remember it the way she remembers nukes to a certain degree at the beginning of part 2. Who's to say Asa or Yoru won't want to track down Denji, be it for romantical reasons like Asa, or for more malicious reasons like Yoru, who may want to try bring back Denji. But this could be the resolution of Asa's character. Maybe she simply just goes and lives with him, and she could very well live her life happily with Denji. Yeah, there's some unresolved things. If you've been on Twitter, you've seen the debate over did Asa consent, and was Denji going to do something malicious. But that's a completely different conversation. Fujimoto could wrap up this dynamic in the next chapter and they live happily ever after. But that's way too hopeful. We're dealing with Fujimoto here. So if I had to put my guess on which theory I believe to be true, I would have to say the Nightmare Devil. I think Fujimoto wants a break. I think he wants a time skip. And I think he wants to give us that feeling while still being able to continue the story later on. He is a really good writer. And I feel like he may leave it open-ended where it may be a nightmare, it may not. And then when he comes back, he may continue the story from where he is. So we could finally see the execution of all the plot points in part 2 in the same universe. That's what I think the ideal situation would be, and what I really hope it could be. But I can only hold my breath, okay? Fujimoto is not a sane man. But in conclusion, I really did enjoy part 2. And if this is where it ends, it would be a very Fujimoto way to end it. I'm mainly making this video to historically landmark what I thought was going to happen, and I'm going to get my mind blown when it drops. And if you're watching this now before the chapter drops, drop your theories. And maybe subscribe, because you'll probably see my reaction. I might make a retrospective. I might make more videos. But part 2 was a roller coaster. I really enjoyed it. And I'm hoping Fujimoto can wrap it up in a satisfying way. Anyway, that's all I have to say today, so goodbye. Subscribe.